Welcome back to another video. So this is probably the fifth video now, I think. So we're wrapping this up really. There's a couple more things I want to do. One of them today is really important about the game loop, and we'll do that with our scenes and our game manager. So when I talk about game loops, think about our player that dies and then comes back to life, and that loop that we have there, so it keeps the game interesting. We don't want just the game to end on a blank scene. So talking about the scenes, you can see here that I've got my player, and you can see that I've got my game in here, and also you can see that I've been working on my tile maps as well. So first things first, just as we edit this, we're going to go into our player and make sure, can you see our player is untagged? Let's just make sure our player is tagged. That's something we should have probably done that in the first video, but we'll make sure we add that in and go to our overrides and apply all and save that to a game. And now we've added that to our overrides, we can go to our prefabs and see that our player is also tagged as player here as well. So that's really, really good. So we need to have a look at our scenes folder, or our levels folder if you want to call it that. Unity calls it scenes, don't know why it doesn't call it levels, just different scenes. Scenes pretty much means different levels. And we can have different scenes for main menu, game over screens and everything like that as well. But we're going to use this to create a second level. So what we're going to do is click onto this and we can go to duplicate, and as you can see we've got two scenes here, and we can see the name of these scenes here. So sample scene 1 and just sample scene. So this one I'm just going to keep as, I'm going to rename it as scene 1. For this, do I want to make the changes? Yes, I'm going to actually click reload for that and actually make the changes here to this setting. So this one's called scene 1, and this one we're going to rename this to scene 2. So almost like level 1, level 2. Lovely, there we go. So I'll make sure that I'm on scene 1, but at the moment, because they're duplicated, they're exactly the same. So I need to make them a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is just quickly edit this level here. Let's have a look. If I can just quickly create something very, very quick, I can edit some bits here. So what am I in? I'm currently in scene 1, so I'm going to make sure I'm in scene 2, make sure that's a little bit different. And we're in scene 2, I've got my enemy, I've got some spikes, and I might put another hump with another enemy here. So bear with me just a second, it shouldn't take me too long to do this. I'll paint these and then I'll switch them as I go, just so I know what I'm doing. There we go, it shouldn't take me too long just to paint these out, and then I can just swap these tiles around. Oops, wrong way around. Let's just change that to, was it 90? Oh, not 90, 0. There we go. That was fine, that was fine. And that one can just go to -1. There we go. Lovely. And with these ones, I just need a corner. So I'll go to my paintbrush, paint that one there, and paint that one there, and we'll just switch these over so that I know this is quick, but kind of gets the job done nice and quickly. So I've got a different scene. So there we go, I've got my 2 humps there now, and I can quickly save this through. So I've got my scene 1, and I can double click back to my scene 1, and there we go. I don't have it, but then on my scene 2, I do have that hump there, so I know it's my second level. So that's how I'm just breaking up my levels there, really nice and easy. Cool, so now these scenes are different. We need to look at our building. So our build is almost like our saving out, our exporting when we create our games. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to File, go to Build Settings, and we'll get this dialog box popping up. And as we can see, it talks about our first scene here with scene 1. And then what we can do is actually drag in our scene 2, and then we go, we've got scene 1, which within our index, and we'll talk about our build index a little bit later when we bring up our code, will be called 0. So if we have to bring this up in with scripts, we don't call it scene 1, we'll just bring up the number 0. And if we need to bring up our scene 2 within our scripts, we will call it or load scene 1. So I know that sounds a bit confusing, but trust me, that's the best way that we can do it here. So what I might just quickly do for my scene 2 as well is just duplicate our enemy, and move him across to here. Lovely. So he's got somewhere to walk as well. Let's just make sure that they work. If I press play on our scene, they should both be walking. If we click on our scene, lovely, fantastic, cool. So I'll save that. Make sure you save your scenes as well. So I come back over to this one. There we go. And I'm back onto my scene 1. Okay, now we've done that, I need something like an icon at the end of my game scene to kind of say, hey, you've completed that level. So I think I had a quick look earlier, and I think I saw a treasure chest. There we go. So I'm going to use this. I think I've already edited the sprite here. Yep, we can see that I've edited the sprite, and I can drag this in here. Lovely. And it's already got that, obviously, that sprite editor onto it. Lovely, lovely. And what we can do is just make sure it's actually touching the ground. And I'll just plop it right in the center there. Lovely. That's brilliant. Cool. And I can just keep that as name as treasure for now. That's absolutely fine. Might just give it a capital T just to make sure we iron out all those bits. Lovely, fantastic. So once we've done that, we'll create a layer for this. And if we go to add layers, we've got lots of layers going on now. We're going to call this exit, because this is going to be our level exit. So if I go back onto treasure and change the layer to exit, this will be the exit from our game. Lovely, and we can add all different bits to this as well. So next thing we need to do is add a box collider. So let's add, there we go, box collider 2D. Let's go over to treasure, and oh, it's a bit big, so we can just rejig this like so. So our collider is all around our box collider. There we go, fantastic, that's fitted around there. And with this, we're going to trigger to our next level as well. So we'll check is trigger here. Is we can add our treasure to our prefabs folder. So we'll make sure we can grab our treasure and drag that into there. Lovely, and we'll save the game there as well. What we can then also do is add a new script. We'll create a new script here, and we'll call this level exit, so you exactly know what's happening. Cool. So level exit, we will add our level exit script to our prefab. Oh, can't add script because it's still compiling, blah 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 blah. Let's do its thing. Lovely, and then we'll add level exit to our treasure. Make sure it's on there, which it is, and then we can go to overrides and update the prefab, clicking apply all. Fantastic, cool. And then let's have a look at this level exit script. So first of all is that when we talk about different scenes, we're using something different within the system and within Unity Engine. So we're using something called the scene management system, because we're talking beyond just this scene. We need to go further into Unity with the systems that we're using. So we're going to go Unity Engine dot scene management, semicolon at the top. So we need to make sure that we get different options for this now that we've added our scene management at the top. And then we don't need start or update, so we can get rid of those. And what we can say is that we need a new trigger on Enter 2D, because we made our box collider a trigger. And then from that we can say if our player, so our player is triggering the end or our treasure chest, aren't they? So we make sure that we enter the trigger. Oh, we need to make sure we've written collision, not other. Apologies. Collision.tag equals player, and we've already, that's the first thing we did at the start of this video, was tag the player as player. And then we're going to write something. We're going to write something called load next level. And as you can see, we are getting an error here because we need to create this as a method. Okay, So what we can do here is we can go here and we can write that out, or you can go right click, go to quick fix and generate method of load next level, and then we go, it does it automatically for you. So we'll clean this up a bit. We don't need it to be private, and we don't need to throw an exception in there. Lovely. So we've got our void next level. What we need to write within this is so we need to create a loop. So we make sure that how many levels you create essentially doesn't matter, that it will always loop back around to the first level at the end, just as a quick easy loop for now. So you can have 3 levels, you can have 2 levels, or you can have 20 levels. It doesn't matter. This code that will help you here will help understand that we'll keep going and going and going until we get to, for example, level 20, and then we go back to within our build index back to 0. So remember what I said about that build index. If we go back to here again, we always start at 0. So if you look at there we go, we always start at 0. And that's really what we're talking to, hence why we need our scene management here as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is going to create an integer, because obviously we're not going to create a float because our scenes are whole scenes. There's no 0.5 of a level. You might have that, but we don't need that here. So current scene index, we'll call this, is equal to our scene manager. And then we need to make sure that we know what the active scene we are in currently. And then we can say dot build index. So it will refer us to, so we're finding out what scene we're currently in. And to do that, we go through our scene manager, we find the get active scene, and it looks within our build index. So it makes sure that with that build index that we just looked at, that it's in there, which we've already done. So that's all nice and good. Cool. So the next thing we need to say is scene manager dot load scene. So we're going to load a new scene. And when we load that new scene, we're going to make sure it's from the current scene index. Okay, so we make sure that our next scene is within our index of that list of different scenes that we have. Okay, and then once we've done that, we can say we're going to plus 1 to that. Okay, so we're going to find what scene we're on, and then we're going to do +1 and go on to the next scene. Okay, and then we can say that will create our loop. So then we can say next scene index, and this will equal our current scene index, and again we're going to plus this by 1. Okay, and that will help our scenes out load into each other as well. So let's say we have that issue of we run out of scenes and it doesn't know what to do. It needs to now loop back to scene 0. So what we need to say is next scene index is equal to our scene manager dot scene count in build. So it finds the scene within the build, and then we can say our next scene index is equal to, you got it, 0, because again, this is the most important part. We need to talk about that 0, and it takes us back to that original scene, okay, within our build index. At the bottom here, we can then just say scene manager dot load scene. Again, we just remind it to go through the next scene index as well to add that on there. Cool, lovely. So now we've got this all within our level exit scripts as well as on the trigger. We should hopefully be able to jump to our next level, which will get, I made it slightly different. There we go. Dook, 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 dook. Lovely. And I'm going to zoom out here. And lovely. So this is our scene 1, so my level 1 technically. Everything should already be added and plumbed in. We don't have any variables or game objects to add in. So let's jump here. I can't remember, kill him and then jump. And then we should be able to, there we go. So as soon as we hit that trigger, we should be hopefully within our, there we go, I can see at the top here, scene 2, we definitely are within scene 2. Shoot that dude, jump across here, then we go, shoot that guy, and then we need to add our next, our chest of our exit level here. Cool, let's quickly do that within scene 2. It will jump us back to scene 1, but we can go into scenes, scene 2. Yeah, we will click save on that actually. And then we will go to prefabs and add our treasure chest. So for example, I'm just going to put the treasure chest here so I know, just to see that it works. Lovely stuff. So in my scene 2, so now this should loop back to our scene 1, and it doesn't matter what scene's on. Even if you have loads of different scenes, it will always add one on, but we've got that rule in there, so let's add back to this scene. Ah, there we go, cool. It has given us a bit of an error. Scene with the build to index could not load because it has not been added to the build settings, and it definitely has. Let's just have a look at this. Oh, I died. Not cool. But I was in scene 1, so that technically has worked, even though it is giving me an error. So let's go build scene settings. They're definitely in there. Odd that it's giving me that error, but it oddly has worked. So let me just see if I can loop around again. So scene 2, going to save this scene, jump. So hopefully I'll jump back to this scene and it might allow me to create this loop. So hit that trigger, back to this one, jump over him, back to this trigger. Yeah, it does work even though we do have this error. So, but I'm just going to deal with that for now. And if I come up with a fix for that a little bit later, that's absolutely fine. That is absolutely. Anyway, I'll just drag this over to here. Lovely, that is working, even though we do have an error, so I'll have to check that out. Yeah, no file build settings, yeah. I'm not going to worry about that for now. Cool, lovely. So the next thing we need to do is, let's have a look what we need to do. What have I got on my list of things to do? We are going to create a game manager because we're not actually dying. We need lives. We need to change that game. What if we don't make it through this level here? What if I don't make it through scene 2 and the spikes get me, or one of these patrol guys kills me? What am I going to do next? So what I need to do is create a game manager, and that's going to manage everything within the game, right down to lives, right down to the scenes and everything else on it. So what we're going to do is right click, go to create empty, and we're going to call this game manager. We then can go into our scripts and we're going to create a brand new script and call this game manager. So what's going to happen here is as soon as I enter game manager, this will change into a cog. This is exactly the same as a C# script, but the icon has changed because usually when you have a game manager within your game, Unity knows that this is going to do a lot of the heavy work, and kind of if you have loads of scripts as well, you can kind of see it. And this is the main part of our game, the main cog of our game. Cool, so my computer's currently loading, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to quickly save my scene. I'm going to drag my game manager into my game manager object. There we go, that's all working fine. And I can double click into this and I'll jump into this script. Lovely, so what we do need for this is again our scene management, because it's dealing with not just one scene. So Unity engine dot scene management semicolon. I'm going to get rid of update. We don't need update. And with our void start, we're going to change this start to awake. Okay, so in our order of executions, awake starts before anything else. So our game manager wakes up before anything else within our game and will control our game, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So the first thing we need to do is we are going to add some functionality for a variable of integer, and we can call this player lives, and it will equal to 3. There we go. And we'll implement this, and we'll also put this into our player movement a little bit later as well through the process of a method. So what we need to do within awake, we need to say an int So it's an integer of a number of, oops, and we'll call this as it'll be a local variable, so it'll be a number of game sessions. Oops, what's happened here? Loading, loading, loading. Number of game sessions, there we go. And this will be equal to find objects of type I'm looking for. There we go. Find objects of type, and then we're going to look for our game manager. And then you can say dot length semicolon. Lovely. So this is going to look for our game manager, and essentially this creates our loop after we've died. Okay. So it's going to look for the game manager, and we're looking for an integer because we're only looking for one of them. Okay. If we looked for multiple types, or Unity grabbed multiple game managers, well, then we would be loading multiple levels at the same time, and that was really heavy in optimization and could cause a crash. So we need to essentially write this out. So we need to say if our number game sessions is less than 1. So on less than 1 life, we need to destroy this game object. Lovely. Else, what's going to happen? We don't destroy on load. Okay, so we just keep the same game manager in existence. Cool, lovely. So once we've got that in awake, we can create a brand new public void method, and we can call this process player death. And what we can do for this, we can say is if our player lives is greater than 1, or less, sorry, not greater, is greater than 1, we can take life, and we'll create that as a method as well. So we did this earlier with our take lives. So if I right click onto this, go to quick fix and generate a method, boom, there we go, and we can just get rid of that throw exception, and we can get rid of the private as well. Cool, so that looks good. What else do I need? Oh, we need to go to, we'll create another method as well. So we go else, and we can say reset, reset game session, and that will be a method as well. And again, if we right click, go to quick fix, generate that method, it creates that right there for us, nice and easy. We can just clean up our scripts here. Lovely. So in take life, let's just say once that's done, we can say player lives is minus semicolon, so that takes a life every time. We can then say int our current scene index is equal to scene manager dot get active scene, and we can just reference back to our build index, and then we can say scene manager dot load scene is from our current scene index. Lovely, fantastic, cool. And then within our reset game session, we can say scene manager dot load scene, and initial scene will be load scene 0, and then we can just again destroy the game object because we don't want multiple. What's the word I'm looking for? Multiple game managers running through our game. Cool. So now we've got this. We have created our process player death as a public. So this needs to go into our player script simply because it's going to take the life away. It's literally going to do the life away, and then it's going to do the reset game session. Cool. So let's quickly save this, and then we can jump down into our player script, which is here. And with under our def, so I've scrolled all the way down here, you can see that we've got quite a lot going on with this script now. So under the def, we can say, we're going to say find object of type. That object of type is going to be our game manager. So we're going to look for our game manager script. There it is. And then the method we're going to look for is process player's death. There we go. Cool. We're going to save this and then we can jump back into Unity. This will load through. Really nice and quickly, lovely, lovely, lovely. And I've just realised what we need to do as well is go to our prefabs and add our game manager to the prefabs. So I'm going to add our game manager into here. So there we go, our game manager into scene 2, and also going to add our game manager. If I go back into here, I can then go into my prefabs. There's my game manager. I'm going to drag that into here as well. Cool, and that can just live in the middle of there. That's absolutely fine. Because it's the scripts, we can now see that we have 3 lives. Let's see if this works. Let's try it from scene 1 initially. So we need to die, and then we should reset. And then we can see from here that our lives should go down to 2, then to 1, then to 0. Let's just let this figure itself out. Lovely, lovely. And then jump and death. There we go. There's the scene loaded again. We can see lives has now gone to 2 around here. If you look on the inspector, let's go again. Let's get killed again by our fella, red. And then our scene will load again. Lovely. We've now got 1. And now, boom, death again. Bang. And then we should have gone, yeah, there we go. Don't destroy and load. Fantastic, which is our game manager. And our scene 1 has taken us back. And we should, if we click on our player, should have 3 lives again. Oh, sorry, on our game manager, should have our 3 lives again. Lovely, fantastic. So that is working like a charm. Fantastic. I'll come out of play. Now that's a long bit of script, but it really, really does help. As I said, you now can have as many levels as you like, and just keep adding levels without worrying about that coding. That coding part is done and dusted. You can just keep adding those different levels to that build index. And we didn't get an error that time either, so that was good as well. That might have just ironed out those kinks. Cool, fantastic. So what we're going to do really, really quickly is, as the last part of this video, is organize a coin, a collectible. So what I'm going to do, firstly, let's just create an empty object. And I'm going to call this coin. I'm going quickly because you should know this by now. Sprite renderer, and then I do have some assets. SPA objects, new decoration, any items, coins, spin. Lovely. So what I'm going to do is on coin, I'm just going to drag the initial coin sprite into there. There it is. It's huge. Let's have a look at the size of that coin. 8 by 8. It has been made by 8. Let's go 16 and just go to apply. There we go. That looks a lot better. So let's just quickly make these by 16. Dunk, dunk, and dunk. And then we're going to create an animation from these as well. Hopefully you can see where we're going with this. Cool, change these to 16. Go to apply. Lovely. So once we've done that, let's just go back into our coin. Double click on it. First thing I'm going to do is add a circle collider. 2D. I'm happy with that collision actually. I'm not going to bother with that collision. I could make it a little bit wider. Nah, it should be alright, it should be fine. And then we can check is trigger on our circle collider 2D. We then need to add an animator component, or actually we can cheat. What we can do is if we go to animate, let's do our coin animation first. So let's go dunk, 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 and dunk. Right click, create, and then go down to animation. I'm just going to name this coin spin, and then I can add coin spin to my animation folder. There we go. And then I can just create a folder for this as well, so all nice and organized. New folder, call it coin. Add coin spin to this folder. Double click into it. Quickly save my game so it doesn't go crazy. And then within here, I can create my animator controller. There we go, create animator controller. And again, I'm just going to call this coin. And once I drag my animator controller into my coin game object up here, come on, jump in. There we go. Sorry, my computer's running really slow today. You can see that we then have our animator added and our coin controller added as well. What I'm going to quickly do is make sure we loop time on our on the coin animation itself. Let's click on coin. Let's click on animator. So I'm going to drag animator up here so you can see what I'm doing. So well, with our empty animator, we are going to drag that coin spin just there. That's absolutely fine. Save that again. Just because my computer's going so slow, probably because I'm doing the recording at the same time as well. It's just having a bad time. And then what I can do once I've done all of that, let's initially see that it actually works. So once we have put our coin into here, let's press play and get this animation. So if the animation will loop through. And there we can see, you can see the animation, and we can also look on the animator, click on our coin and see that we're spinning through that coin. Now what we need to do is, because we've set the coin as is trigger on this game, we won't be able to walk through it, but what we need to do is being able to establish that trigger. So what we're going to do is jump into our coin script, and we can just get rid of start and update. We don't need this. And if you can do this yourself, go for it. I'll give you a nice little hint, which is an on trigger 2D enter. We'll get rid of that. Lovely. And then what we need to do is, if you might figure it out already, all we need to say is if the collision dot tag is equal to our player, then what do we do? Well, what we're going to do first is we're going to destroy the game object, and that's it. That's all we need to do. We're just going to destroy the coin. So we can jump back into Unity. That will compile. Let that compile through. Just before we test this script out, what we're going to do is put our coin into our prefab folder, so it prefabs it. There we go. Go on in. Cool, there's the coin. And we can just quickly save that. And what I'm going to quickly do is just duplicate the coin twice over. Just click and hold and click. To this coin as well. Lovely. And then if we press play, and then hopefully it won't be a fluke when we pick up our coins. Lovely, bink, bink, bink. There we go. All of our coins have been destroyed. Cool. So in our last video, we'll make sure we'll get all, if there are any kind of bugs that I find, I'll have a look through, see if there are any bugs. I think this is our first level as well. Yes, it is. So we can quickly, I don't want to get defeated by that enemy. So we have been able to go to our second level. Here's our second level. There we go. Oh, I died. And then jump over again. Oh, not very good at this game. So jump, and there we go. So it's reset again. So we've got our game manager, we've got our collectibles, and we've also sorted out our next level with our scene as well. We'll move on with our next video where we'll start looking at adding some sound, and we'll also be finishing off our video as well with some game session persistencies as well. Cool, see you soon.